Captain Mike Thompson of the Earth Defense Fleet stood tall as the Galactic Council's classification team filed into the meeting room. After 5 years of Earth joining the galactic community, they were finally getting their official planetary classification. Most habitable worlds ranked between Class 1, Paradise planets, and Class 7, challenging environments. Class 10 and above were rare, reserved for the most hostile environments in the known universe. The alien classification team was led by a tall, blue-skinned being named Vox. His 6 eyes blinked nervously as he placed a sealed document on the table. Captain Thompson, after extensive study of your world, we have reached our conclusion, Vox said, his translator device making his voice sound metallic. Mike reached for the document with steady hands, though his heart raced. Earth had been expecting a Class 8 or 9 at worst. Their world had challenges, extreme weather, predators, diseases, but nothing truly extraordinary by their own estimation. When Mike broke the seal and read the classification, his face went pale. "There must be a mistake," he whispered. "No mistake, Captain," Vox replied. "Earth is officially classified as a Class 13 death world. One of only 3 such worlds ever discovered in our catalogued galaxy." The room fell silent. The other human representatives looked at each other in shock. "On what basis?" Mike finally asked. Vox activated a holographic display showing Earth's various environments, from scorching deserts to frozen tundras, from hurricane-battered coastlines to earthquake zones. "Your world experiences temperature variations that would kill most species. Your oceans contain predators that would terrify any rational being. Your microscopic life forms have wiped out millions of your own kind throughout history. Even your plant life can be deadly," Vox explained. "But we've adapted to all of that," protested Dr. Linda Reed, Earth's chief biologist. "That's precisely what concerns us," said another alien, a reptilian being named Drac. "The fact that humans have not only survived but thrived in such conditions makes your species uniquely dangerous." As the meeting ended, Mike contacted Earth Command. The implications of this classification would change humanity's standing forever. Some alien species would avoid Earth completely. Others would view humans with new fear or respect. But unknown to the classification team, their visit had triggered an ancient monitoring system buried deep beneath Earth's crust. A system that predated human civilization by millions of years. A system that was now sending a signal to the stars. Because Earth wasn't just a Class 13 death world. It was something far more significant. And the galaxy was about to find out. 3 months after Earth's classification, strange things began happening across the planet. Dormant technologies buried for millions of years started activating, sending signals no human instrument could decode. Jack Miller, a park ranger in Yellowstone National Park, was the first to discover one such device when the ground beneath his feet suddenly shifted, revealing a metallic structure covered in unknown symbols. "Base, you need to see this," Jack said into his radio, his breath visible in the cold morning air. Within hours, similar reports came in from all 7 continents. Whatever was happening, it was global. In Washington, D.C., General William Moore assembled a team of scientists and military personnel to investigate the phenomenon. Among them was Dr. Emma Davis, a brilliant archaeologist who specialized in ancient technologies. "These structures appear to be communication nodes," Emma explained during the emergency briefing. "They're made of an alloy we've never seen before, and they're at least 65 million years old." "Older than humanity?" General Moore asked. "Much older. They predate even the dinosaurs," Emma confirmed. Meanwhile, in orbit, the International Space Station detected an approaching vessel. Unlike the elegant ships of the Galactic Council races, this craft was massive and angular, resembling a floating mountain of dark metal. Captain Lee of the space station sent the first greeting. "Unknown vessel, this is International Space Station Alpha. Please identify yourself." After a long silence, a response came, not through communication channels, but directly into the minds of every human on Earth and in orbit. Caretakers returning. Evaluation process initiated. Status of Garden World Class 13, acceptable. The message was simple but sent shockwaves through human civilization. Earth wasn't just randomly dangerous, it had been designed that way. Engineered as a crucible to forge life forms of extraordinary resilience. In New York, the United Nations convened an emergency session. Representatives from all nations gathered to discuss humanity's response to what was clearly first contact with a species far more advanced than even the Galactic Council races. "We need to establish direct communication," said the Secretary General. "We need to understand who these caretakers are and what they want with Earth." As diplomatic efforts began, Dr. Emma Davis made a startling discovery in the ancient records of several human civilizations. References to sky gardeners, who planted the seeds of strength, appeared across unconnected cultures, from Sumerian tablets to Mayan codices. Humanity was beginning to realize that their harsh world hadn't been a cosmic accident. It had been deliberately created as the ultimate testing ground. And they had passed some kind of test simply by surviving. The question now was, what came next? The massive ship took position in Earth orbit, dwarfing all human and alien vessels nearby. Smaller crafts departed from it, heading to each of the activated nodes around the planet. At Yellowstone, Jack watched as a sleek vessel landed near the exposed structure. The ship's surface seemed to shift and flow like liquid metal, adjusting to the terrain. When it opened, 3 tall beings emerged. They were humanoid but clearly not human, standing nearly 8 feet tall with gray-green skin that seemed to change texture depending on the light. Their eyes were large and completely black, and they moved with graceful precision that suggested enhanced strength and reflexes. "I am Trell, lead gardener of Sector 7, one of them spoke, the words appearing in Jack's mind rather than being heard. "You are the current dominant species of Garden 13? Meanwhile, in Washington, similar beings met with world leaders. Their message was consistent: Earth was not a natural world but an engineered ecosystem designed to produce resilient life forms. The harsh conditions were intentional, a crucible to forge strength. Dr. Emma Davis was invited to examine the ancient technology with the gardeners. As she worked alongside them, she learned the truth. "Your planet is one of 27 garden worlds scattered across this galaxy," explained Mira, a female gardener. "Each garden is designed to produce different evolutionary outcomes. Earth was created to maximize adaptability and resilience." "But why?" Emma asked. "The universe is far more dangerous than your council allies understand," Mira replied. "The species that survive Earth-like conditions have the greatest chance of long-term survival." In orbit, Captain Mike Thompson was granted permission to board the Gardner mothership. There, he met with the chief gardener, an ancient being called ELD. "Your classification as a Class 13 Death World triggered our return protocols," ELD explained. "But you have exceeded expectations. Humans have not only survived but have begun reaching beyond your world while still maintaining your aggressive adaptability." "Is that good?" Mike asked. ELD's expression changed, showing what might have been concern. "It is necessary. The peace your Galactic Council enjoys is temporary. There are threats in the dark spaces between galaxies, threats that less resilient species cannot withstand." As these conversations happened simultaneously around the world, humans began to understand their true place in the cosmos. They weren't just another spacefaring race, they were the product of an ancient experiment designed to create warriors for a coming war. The revelation divided humanity. Some embraced this purpose, proud that they had proven themselves worthy. Others rejected it, arguing that humans should choose their own destiny. Either way, Earth would never be the same again. And neither would the galaxy. 1 week after the gardeners' arrival, they called for a special broadcast to all of humanity and the watching Galactic Council races. The transmission originated from their mothership but was relayed to every screen on Earth. Chief Gardener ELD appeared, his ancient face solemn. "People of Earth, what we must share will change your understanding of the universe," he began. 65 million years ago, when we first seeded your world, we did so as part of a greater plan. The harsh conditions we engineered were not random cruelty, but necessary preparation. Images appeared showing the vast emptiness between galaxies. But as the view zoomed in, shadowy forms became visible, massive structures that seemed to absorb all light around them. The entities we call the void feed on life energy and stellar radiation, ELD continued. They hibernate for millions of years before awakening to consume. The last time they awoke, they devoured 3 galaxies before returning to hibernation. The images shifted to show destroyed star systems and dead worlds. Our scientists calculate they will awaken again within the next century. When they do, conventional weapons and technologies will be useless against them. Only life forms that have evolved in extreme conditions, life forms like humans, have the physical and mental resilience to fight this threat. On Earth, the revelation hit hard. Humanity wasn't just the product of a harsh world, they were deliberately created as soldiers for an apocalyptic war. General Moore met with his counterparts from other nations to discuss the implications. "We're being told we're the galaxy's last hope against an enemy we didn't even know existed," he said. Dr. Emma Davis continued working with the gardeners, learning that human DNA contained hidden adaptations that could be activated. "Your people can become far stronger, faster, and more resilient than you currently are," Mira explained. "These latent abilities were engineered into your ancestors but remain dormant until needed." Captain Mike Thompson was shown the gardeners' defensive plans. "The Galactic Council races evolved on gentle worlds," explained Trell. "They lack the aggressive survival instinct that Earth has forged in humans. In previous cycles, such peaceful species were always the first to fall." As this information spread, the Galactic Council representatives who had classified Earth as a death world watched in growing unease. Their fear of humans now seemed prescient, but for reasons they hadn't imagined. "Your classification was correct," ELD told them, "but incomplete. Earth isn't just a Class 13 death world. It's a forge world, designed to create the defenders all life will need when the void awakens." The question now facing humanity was profound: would they accept this destiny? Or would they chart their own course, even if it meant leaving the galaxy vulnerable? The choice would define not just Earth's future, but potentially all life in the galaxy. A month after the revelation, the United Nations convened the largest assembly in human history. Representatives from every nation gathered to make perhaps the most important decision humanity would ever face. Should they accept the role the gardeners had designed them for? Or reject it and determine their own fate? The debate was passionate and divided. "We didn't ask to be created as soldiers," argued Representative Tom Wilson from Australia. "We have the right to choose our own destiny. But if we don't stand against this threat, who will?" countered General Moore. "Can we morally turn our backs on the galaxy knowing we might be the only species capable of fighting?" Outside the UN building, millions of people protested or showed support. The world was split nearly evenly on the issue. Dr. Emma Davis presented her findings on the dormant human capabilities the gardeners had engineered. "If activated, these genetic sequences would transform us," she explained. "Enhanced strength, accelerated healing, improved cognitive processing, we would become something beyond current humanity." Captain Mike Thompson shared the tactical information he'd gathered. "The void entities cannot be destroyed by conventional means," he reported. "They exist partially outside our dimension. Fighting them requires both physical and mental adaptations that only humans appear to possess." As the debate continued, something unexpected happened. The gardeners, who had remained neutral during the discussion, received an urgent signal from their long-range sensors. Chief Gardener ELD interrupted the proceedings. "We have detected void activity at the edge of your galaxy," he announced. "We were wrong about the timeline. They are awakening now." Panic rippled through the assembly. The theoretical threat had suddenly become real. "How long do we have?" asked the Secretary General. "At their current speed, 3 years before they reach populated systems," ELD replied. "Perhaps 5 before they reach Earth." The crisis forced a decision. After 24 hours of emergency sessions, the vote was held. By a narrow margin, humanity chose to accept their designed purpose, with conditions. They would fight to protect the galaxy, but on their terms. The gardeners would share all their knowledge and technology, and humans would maintain their autonomy in how they developed and used their abilities. "We accept what we were made to be," the Secretary General announced, "but we will decide how to fulfill that purpose." The gardeners agreed to these terms. That very day, the preparation began. Around the world, volunteers stepped forward to undergo the activation process that would awaken their dormant abilities. Jack Miller, the park ranger who had first discovered one of the ancient structures, was among the first volunteers. "I've spent my life protecting one small corner of Earth," he said. "If I can help protect all life, how could I say no?" As the first humans began their transformation, the Galactic Council races watched in a mixture of awe and fear. The Deathworlders they had feared were now their greatest hope. Earth was no longer just a Class 13 death world. It was the galaxy's last line of defense. 6 months into the preparation for war, Earth had become the center of galactic attention. Spacecraft from all Galactic Council races arrived, bringing scientists, diplomats, and warriors eager to witness humanity's transformation. The process of activating humanity's dormant genetic potential proved more complex than anticipated. Dr. Emma Davis worked alongside the gardeners, modifying the original activation protocols to maintain human identity and ethics while unlocking the engineered abilities. The original design would have created perfect soldiers, but at the cost of what makes us human, Emma explained to the Oversight Committee. "Our compassion, creativity, and individual thinking are advantages, not weaknesses to be removed." The first wave of volunteers completed their transformations with remarkable results. They emerged stronger, faster, and more resilient than any human in history. Their senses were enhanced, their minds quicker, their bodies able to withstand conditions that would kill unmodified humans. Jack Miller, now part of the First Response Division, demonstrated his new abilities by surviving in environments ranging from the vacuum of space to the crushing depths of the ocean, all without equipment. Captain Mike Thompson, after his transformation, was appointed to lead Earth's first specialized combat unit. "We're not just stronger," he reported. "We can perceive aspects of reality previously invisible to us, the same dimensional frequencies the void entities exist in." But the transformation wasn't without costs. Some volunteers struggled with their new abilities, their minds overwhelmed by enhanced perception. Others faced rejection from family members who saw them as no longer fully human. General Moore addressed these concerns during a global broadcast. "We remain human at our core," he insisted. "Our compassion, our creativity, our determination, these qualities weren't engineered by the gardeners. They evolved naturally on our harsh world. And they may prove to be our greatest weapons." As Earth prepared, the gardeners shared their technology and knowledge. Humans learned to create weapons that could affect entities existing across multiple dimensions. They built ships capable of traveling through the same void spaces their enemy used. The Galactic Council, initially hesitant, eventually committed their resources to the cause. Earth became a fortress world, its orbit filled with defensive platforms and training facilities. Dr. Linda Reed, who had protested Earth's classification months ago, now worked with alien biologists to determine if other species could be adapted to fight. "Humans can't do this alone," she argued. "We need allies who can stand with us." Some council species proved more adaptable than others. Those from slightly harsher worlds could undergo modified versions of the transformation process. Others contributed through technology, resources, or strategic planning. As the transformed humans mastered their new abilities, they began to understand why they had been created. The gardeners had engineered them to be the perfect counter to the void, beings of extraordinary physical resilience combined with the mental flexibility to comprehend threats beyond normal perception. But even as preparations accelerated, long-range sensors detected the void entities moving faster than predicted. Their hibernation was ending more rapidly than the gardeners had calculated. They sensed the preparation, Chief Gardener ELD explained grimly. They know we're readying a defense. They're coming more quickly to prevent it. The timeline for humanity's transformation and preparation had just been cut in half. War was coming to the galaxy, and Earth, the Class 13 Deathworld, would be at its center. 2 years after Earth's classification, the first void entity entered the galaxy's outer rim. A massive shadow that seemed to bend space itself, it consumed an uninhabited star system in days, leaving only cold emptiness behind. Earth's transformed defenders were ready. Led by Captain Mike Thompson, the first battle group departed to face the threat. Their ships, built with Gardner technology but modified by human engineers, could track and follow the void entities through the dimensional rifts they created. "Remember your training," Mike told his crew as they approached the massive shadow. "These things exist partially in our reality and partially outside it. Conventional weapons won't work, use the phase disruptors and quantum anchors." The battle that followed was unlike any conflict in galactic history. The void entity, sensing the threat, attacked with tentacles of dark energy that could erase matter from existence. The human ships danced around these attacks, their enhanced pilots using their new perceptions to anticipate the enemy's movements. Jack Miller, now a specialized scout, led a small team into the dimensional boundary of the entity itself. "It's like being in two places at once," he reported back. "I can see our reality and something else. Something older than stars." Dr. Emma Davis monitored the battle from Earth, analyzing the data sent back. "The entity is intelligent," she realized. "It's learning our tactics. We need to adapt faster than it can." The first engagement lasted 3 days. When it ended, the human fleet had successfully driven the void entity away from populated systems, though at a heavy cost. 3 ships were lost, their crews sacrificed to protect billions of lives. As the conflict expanded, more void entities entered the galaxy. The Gardeners revealed the full scale of the threat. At least 30 such beings were awakening from hibernation. On Earth, General Moore coordinated the galactic defense. The Galactic Council races, once fearful of humanity, now looked to Earth for leadership. Their own worlds, evolved in peaceful conditions, had produced brilliant scientists and artists but few warriors capable of facing the void. "This is why Earth is a death world," Chief Gardener ELD explained during a strategy session. "Not by accident, but by design. Your world forged you through hardship to face the greatest hardship of all." The war intensified. Battles raged across the galaxy as humans and their allies fought to contain the void advance. Some star systems were sacrificed to buy time for others. Each engagement taught the defenders more about their enemy. Dr. Linda Reed made a breakthrough when she discovered that the void entities communicated with each other through quantum entanglement. "If we can disrupt their communication, we can isolate and defeat them one by one," she proposed. The final confrontation came at a massive star at the galaxy's core. All remaining void entities gathered there, preparing to consume the energy-rich region. The combined fleets of Earth and the Galactic Council surrounded them in a last desperate gamble. Captain Mike Thompson led the attack, coordinating thousands of ships in perfect harmony. Jack Miller and his scouts planted quantum disruptors at key points within the dimensional boundaries. Dr. Emma Davis monitored from the command ship, directing the deployment of the newly developed quantum communication jammers. The battle lasted weeks. Space itself seemed to warp and tear as the void entities fought with increasing desperation. Thousands of lives were lost, but the defenders held firm. In the final hour, when victory seemed impossible, Mike ordered the execution of Protocol Deathworld, the deliberate collapse of the massive star into a black hole while all human ships were still within its gravitational well. The void feeds on energy, he reminded his forces. We'll give it more than it can handle. As the star collapsed, the void entities were drawn in, unable to resist the enormous gravitational pull. The human ships, using technology that allowed them to ride the edge of the event horizon, deployed their final weapons, quantum anchors that bound the void to our dimension, preventing their escape. The black hole consumed them all. 3 days later, when the radiation cleared, search vessels found survivors, including Captain Mike Thompson, badly injured but alive. The void entities were gone, trapped forever within the black hole's singularity. Earth's classification was officially changed in the galactic records. No longer just a Class 13 death world, it became known as the Shield World, the planet whose harsh conditions had created the species that saved the galaxy. As humanity rebuilt and healed, they remembered the cost of victory. Memorials were established not just for those who fell in battle, but for all their ancestors who had struggled and adapted to Earth's harsh conditions, unknowingly preparing the species for its greatest challenge. The gardeners, their purpose fulfilled, prepared to depart. But many chose to stay, curious about what humanity would become next. You were created with a purpose, Chief Gardener ELD told the United Nations during his farewell address. You have fulfilled that purpose. Now, for the first time since your species began, your future is truly your own. Earth would always be a death world. But now, it was something more, a world whose people had proven that sometimes the harshest beginnings create the strongest defenders.